and the keyboard. Hey, everyone.
Hey.
Oh, great to see you. Happy August. School's coming back in session, all things, feels like everything gets kickstarted back again. And council come back, so all the things. Okay, our agenda. This will go forward. We'll give you a little bit of an update on what we've been working on in terms of final deliverable directions we're heading. Open for discussion and questions, of course. We're going to do an activity, really breaking out two of the key themes that we heard from you all, website and program. We'll spend the bulk of our time doing that today. We kind of took all the information that you gave us. I rewatched the meeting, kind of grouped it into what we heard. And now here's two more things we would just want to dive in deeper a little bit as we kind of start building out what we think this might look like. We'll do a little bit of share out, kind of like we did last time. It won't be a pitch competition. It'll be smaller groups, just given our numbers today, but just kind of allows us to have a good conversation about what we like, what we don't like, and what we want to see out of what we're working towards. So just a quick status update on feedback that you guys gave us, two kind of key things that we heard, some sort of like central location and hub website that can be organized in a variety of different ways that offers tools, resources, information, etc. So we'll try and dive into that a little bit more today. And also an opportunity for a gamification. What does that look like? How often do you want that done? The different groups had different ideas about that, and we'll try and think about that in terms of what our actual capabilities are. So a couple of things that we looked at was kind of what are our wants and our needs, just thinking of our own internal systems and departments and capacity that we have. Here's kind of a list of wants and needs that we got over. In general, a couple of themes. Website, yes, we know we can do that. That's easy. How we want it organized? We're going to talk about that today. Some personalization. Can you have a login? Can you not? Can we have kind of a personalized climate action plan created from that? So some of those things we're still kind of scoping through, and if we can self-solve those at all. We have explored a few external resources. A lot of them have limitations to making it pretty Boise specific, which is kind of the overall theme that we've heard. Of course, those all come with a dollar amount as well. So just some things that we've been scoping in the meantime as well. Thinking about the end user. So I think some of our questions that we're going to ask today is how does this look successful? And what do you want your entire experience to look like? So thinking through like what makes you come back to a website? What makes it user friendly? How do you want to create this, welcoming environment? Not like oh my gosh, this makes me feel like I'm not doing anything. So some of those things to consider. And then also reporting, like how are we measuring success? I think there's a couple different folds that we think about this. Is it self-reported? Is it, of course, greenhouse gas emissions overall? That takes a really long time for us to do. And also just having people take individual actions, which is really important too. Like we are not trying to turn people away or discourage them. Like I mentioned, just exploring some customizations and time and resources that we have. Alex or Bree, anything else in terms of status update on what we've been discussing? Yeah. Any questions or comments on? Nothing's been determined yet. Basically, we're trying to self-solve a lot of things internally with our staff. Can we kind of create a personalization or something like it? There's some things in the works on the city that are about a year apart, so we're just missing a mark a little bit on some of those, but that's okay. I think we all feel pretty confident in what we're discovering that we can do.
Yeah, one other thing we've been doing for the last 2 months and since I started this job is like looking at what other cities do. And we really haven't found a model that we're like, oh, that is it, like gold star, 100%, that's what we want to do. And I think if that was the case, like every city would be doing it, right? And so we've looked at a few, like you said, external tools, like marketing campaigns and trying to kind of gather from all these different municipalities we don't want to recreate the wheel, right? Like we want to pull from things that they've done that have been successful. And I think we're also trying to move away from things that are maybe cost money, but have not shown the success or the impact that we are looking for. So I think that's the background research has been what we've been up to the last few months.
Any other thoughts or questions just on conversations we've had internally, externally, reflections from our last or 2 meetings ago, I should say, when we kind of did the pitch activity?
You can just go back.
Oh, I was just gonna ask, sorry, to raise my hand.
Okay.
Are there any, I guess, did you all have any discussions about hitting the market of people that we don't typically see doing this stuff? Because I think that's something I just kept turning over and over in my head is like, for the people that care, it's like they are gonna do these things and they are gonna work through like a matrix or a game that we do, but like hitting those people that don't typically engage.
Do you guys have any conversations about that? Or yeah, I think we've talked about that a lot. I kind of see these three levels of like people that don't care, don't know, don't do anything. And there are people that maybe like they recycle, but they're ready to take the next action. And then there are people like you all who are like very engaged, ready to take, more action. And so I think from initial conversations, our focus was more on like, we're not trying to change anyone's mind about climate change. Like we are looking for people that are ready to take more action and or like help be ambassadors to other people. So if we catch those people that are at the other end, wonderful and great, I think. But I think we recognize that like that's the hardest audience to target. And maybe we haven't found like a way to really relate it to them yet.
I think that's a good idea though, just thinking through, like to Alex's point, I think we thought of this as two parts. Like one, there'll be a behavior kind of change campaign, and two, like a tool that you guys have asked for, right? And so maybe we use one of our sessions as like, okay, let's think of the target folks that we don't typically hear from, maybe have different barriers or whatever it might be, and like what's the best avenue to reach them, and let's explore what that might be. So that could be, I have at the very end, it was also like, where do we want to go from here in addition? So I could easily see us using one of our sessions to kind of dive in on like target audiences too. We could kind of bucket them. So
yeah, I think in the activity we're going to work through today, we have asked for audience. And so if you guys are thinking through those kind of like levels of engagement, that's really helpful for us to, if you have some idea of how to really get at those audiences that are not engaged, we would love to you direct to this.
Oh, this was less important. I was just curious, but if time allows, the kind of things you were exploring externally that didn't seem that helpful, but it can be for later too.
yeah, I'm happy to share those. That was one of those things like, do I share with you guys and then it taints it puts you into this bucket? Or do I share after we've had this conversation maybe today with something we went back? I'm like, I have the email drafted with some of the resources that we had explored. It was like, let's just hold off for another moment so I don't get your guys' brain of like, well, that tool did this and this tool did this, but it doesn't do this. So anyways, yeah. Any other thoughts or questions? Cool. Let's see if I can go. Get a picture of a dog. Over to Alex, and we're going to spend a bulk of the session.
Now you're gonna be sitting great stuff forever. Sign your life away when you start.
Al, I'm going to turn over to Alex to go over the activity that we're going to spend the bulk of our time.
Okay, so like Lindsay highlighted, we heard your feedback. We've kind of grouped it into these two pieces of implementation. We're going to create a website with resources, but we don't really know what that looks like. Like, how is it accessible? How is it organized? How do we get people to keep coming back? And then there's going to be the program. That's like the in-person stuff. Is it classes? Is it incentives? Is it, volunteer activities? It's kind of these two go in hand, right? And so we will launch the website and then we'll be launching the in-person program. And we want your feedback on those two pieces. And so we're going to break up into, do you still want to do 4 groups? So it'll be 4 groups of 3. Let's see.
So let's do 4 groups still. Yeah, so then it's 2.
So 2 groups are going to get a worksheet that has some discussion questions to develop ideas about the website. And then 2 groups are going to get some discussion questions to develop the program. And so if there's questions on here that you don't feel like are relevant or we're missing anything, like we want all the feedback, right? But we just started some questions. So for the website, we're looking for feedback on like, what does the homepage look like? What are websites that you use that you go back to often, that are engaging, that are appealing? Maybe they are drawing in those people that, we want it to be accessible. We don't want it to be overwhelming. Personalization, the sub web pages. We want like a calendar, our current programs. And then on both of these activities, we've ended with this website would be successful if, or this program would be successful if. And then with the program, we want to hear about types of programs, cadence, how are they communicated, who's the audience, do we work with nonprofits and businesses and other community partners? And then once again, this program will be successful if blank. So you're going to get into your groups kind of like the pitch day. We're going to just brainstorm. workshop these ideas. There's some large Post-it notes around the room if you want to grab one of those. I think we marked those
Yeah, in the back.
Cool. And so feel free to write on your pages, on the posters, and then we'll take some time at the end to present ideas and kind of share. So between the two website groups, the two program groups, we'll kind of compare ideas. And I think like if you have any ideas, write them down because that's how we best collect your feedback.
I'm gonna count everybody off, so we separate compared to how we kind of go.
Did you go through that, the amount of funding available for these things to take into account?
We do have funding available, and so that if that's something that would hold you back from planning, don't let it. Like put out all of the ideas. We want to hear no cost ideas. We want to hear cost ideas. Like we want to hear it all. So not like a lot of cost.
City government.
So
Okay, I'm gonna count off to 4. We'll go group 1
okay.
here, group 2 there, group 3 in that corner, and group 4 over there. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Would you like to join? 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 1, 2, 3. 4.
Wait for someone.
It's like the best carrier.
Four.
Get out of here. Oh, man.
Oh. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, and so I saw all of your guys' eyes. First, would you be ready to share about what you thought about the website? You everyone?
Oh, yeah, I had to.
Using ideas.
I think she writes beautifully. So we can jump around. We'll jump around. I'll say things and then I'll fill in all the blanks that I left out. Just on the homepage itself, what makes a compelling homepage? Well, it has to be simple. It can't be a whole bunch of words. It'd be nice to have some nice graphics and visuals like dogs and app. Just those two things to be clear. Yes. We weren't keen about story maps, but realized it's kind of lends itself at the same time to a story map. And so I'm not quite sure we ended up on that. So it's gonna be spaced out. You need to kind of understand where you're like, understand how to get where you're going. You don't understand how to get where you're going. So it's gonna be sort of it's a big simple page to land on. And from there, you're gonna find out what Boise's objective is, why you care, why you should care, and the benefits of why Boise's doing this, the role Boise is playing as a leader, just a sort of story as to why you're at this website in the first place. And then it's going to kind of break it down. You're going to have a choice, I guess. I might be leaving things out, but the next step is you're going to have, who are you, right? So why am I here? You're going to have, I'm a homeowner, I'm a renter, I'm a business owner, or I'm a kid with absolutely no authority, money, or driving. So from there, you can click on these, and then it gives you, it starts asking you quiz questions, and it'll go through the process as you go down through it. And in the end, you're going to get this product that says, this is what you personally can do today or tomorrow, or the next day. And you can print this out, or you can download it to your phone or download to your home computer. You don't have to stay here. You don't have to remain on this site to use this information just given you, but come back and more information. Another thing our homepage is going to have is both the trivia sort of cool stuff and tips, which can be interlinked. So you always say, oh, I want to come back and see what today's tip is or next week's tip is. And then the accessibility, one is how do you get there? I still like the idea of QR codes all over the city. So people just stumble across and come in. And then the second accessibility, it has to be the third grade, I guess is what we're shooting for, which means you're beginning to read, to learn. It's kind of low level language. So we don't bar people without at the same time talking down to them. So that's where the city is going to hire somebody who's really good at that kind of stuff.
She's already
So yeah, so it has to be updated kind of regularly if you want people to keep coming back. And that's going to, of course, require you to know stuff. And then you drill down, I mean, there's a rabbit hole you can drop into if you really want to know about what's going on. You know, all this data, information, studies, and things to NASA and what have you on one page. And then other pages will have different links to things that people would find interesting. What am I missing?
We also talked about, like, after you do the initial quiz, you can immediately download the PDF, or you can enter in your email to get like quarterly or monthly updates on like climate action. It can even be like seasonal, like it's winter time now. Don't do that, like, you know, kind of give you some options, or these are the things you'll be noticing. And we also thought that with like the trivia and tips, if we were feeling up to including social media, it could be something that's like today's trivia question is this, go to the website to find the answer. As a way to get people back onto the
It had pretty graphics for the. This would be a nice lake in the summer, and in the winter it's ice skating rink. So it changes with the seasons, so it keeps the site interesting and valid. And then we also didn't want any hostage pages where you finally get to the result. It says, oh, you have to download your email first. And we don't want any of that. So
like the optionality of like, if you want to take the quiz and you want to just download it, get some information, you're kind of like done with the website, like that's fine. There's going to be a lot of people who go that route. But if you want to then like log in and like stay up to date, subscribe and like, yeah, save it so you can come back next time and it it's already filled in and gives you tips. There's like sort of optionality on how much you want to engage.
We talked about like maybe 10 years from now when it's well established that page, like when you sign in, can be like a My Climate Plan page and it shows the decrease in your carbon footprint and like improvements you've made. But that seems like a really big ask for right now. So it's like down the road.
So with the buy-in and the participation.
Also, sorry, before I forget, there's a web page there's like a website that does that with the mapping. It's called like One World or like
A world.
A World. Is that where it's like, this is how many planets, if everybody lived like you, this is how many planets it would take to sustain. But like that one like framework, but just in terms of like the questions of like that kind of framework might be nice to look
Look on our resources page.
You also think
There was a description of a list in the beginning of like, I'm a homeowner, I'm a renter, I'm a kid. Rewiring America does something similar for how to electrify your home.
Yeah.
That might be a good framework to start with or to use as a resource.
we kind of talked about it being like it should be like very simple and straightforward, but also if you want to go down the rabbit hole and like read more, you can. And one other note I wanted to add on like the sort of like your personalized like climate thing. One of the reasons I like don't like the web pages like that one is it puts the entire onus on like the individual, where it's like, here's your climate impact, when in reality, like there's so much of it of like, can you recycle? Because you're in an apartment building and there's nowhere to recycle. Can you do this? You can't actually get to work that way because there's no bike path to get there. And so like, if there is that, it needs to be something that it gives you sort of how much of this is like things you can personally change and how much of it is like community change or like that kind of thing where it's not putting.
Put together and kick your landlord versus take your own risk.
We looked at a lot of carbon footprint calculators and there's like a lot of controversy about that being like not a real thing. But I think like we need a way for people to discover what their baseline is to decide what opportunities, actions they can take instead of saying, you're doing so bad. I like you're great at the top of your website. So, I agree.
I think, sorry to add on, I was gonna say like having on each page, like what is the city doing about this? And then like what you do. I think as an individual, sometimes it's like hard to be told by the government or by a big business that like, here's what you should be doing. And you're like, why am I fixing this? Like, why don't you do it?
I feel like people care about what the city is doing. Like I know all of you care in this room, but I feel like a lot of times we tend to focus on like, here's our projects. But with this, we really tried to focus on like, what can we do as a community? But so do you feel like we need both of those things?
Well, you need to know that the city's doing something.
Yeah, right.
It doesn't like, I don't need to know every little detail, but it's like, I need to know you're doing something before I want to do something.
Yeah, I don't need another overlord. I need a teammate.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
I think it also helps with like the example Ryan gave of like, you live in an apartment and you can't recycle. Well, the city offers, like, it kind of helps them to be like, there are solutions for that problem.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, thank you. Other website groups?
We haven't decided who wants to talk.
We can all.
Everybody's stuff.
Well, first of all, your guys is terrific, so I mean, that's super awesome. But ours is similar in some ways. We had a lot of ideas to make it as thoroughly through it as wanted. We were limited on time, but we did the homepage. We're thinking about having this sort of more empowering language again at a level that's not way above anyone. But then giving some basic stats right off the top, like, oh, like here's a projection for the Treasure Valley in 10 years, maybe, or 15 years, and here's where we're headed, but here's what we can do. And so then you're breaking that out in sort of common language around climate action. It doesn't have to be these terms, but you're starting to think in a framework of mitigation actions. And then those are broken out into all these child pages that are like composting or like energy use, kind of the things we did at the beginning of this thing. So you have all these things, and then within those, you have very similar to what we have, these sort of actions that are like based upon cost, personal cost and impact. But then we also kind of to touch upon what you guys talked about, this other personalized, so right, mitigation adaptation, but also this regeneration thing and other resources. We do see it also as like this Rosetta Stone of resources from around the whole Treasure Valley. It's like, oh, you just bought an EV, you should know this, this, and this. So people, that keeps people coming back to like, oh yeah, I kind of want to get the gardening. What do I do about it? But then we also saw this sort of personalized thing similar to what you guys said, but rather than the demographic stuff, it was more like, hey, what brings you joy? What are you good at? And what needs doing? And so you're sort of centering on the Venn diagram there and saying, oh, you love to be on the trails, you love mountain biking. That brings you joy, you're good at it, I guess, of course. Within that system, wow, Rich Rivers needs a bunch of help. So maybe here's the Weed Warriors program, but also, Monica Braybeck has other things that you did within that. So you start building this personalized thing. And then also to keep the people coming back, you would have like, not a journalistic component, but sort of maybe a blog component where you're highlighting people or stories from the Treasure Valley, like, Jimmy's grandfather that just passed away, the Bluebird Man. There might be this like nice story on the Bluebird Man. It's like, here's this guy that helped regenerate the Mount Bluebird population. What a wonderful life, sort of like this human interest component, but.
Can I ask a question about that piece of it? We talked internally about like storytelling is really important. What format, like how many people are going to sit and read a blog? Is it like a 2-minute video? Is it like what do you think the storytelling piece could look like?
I don't know. I don't know, but it could be like you could link to a story already that exists because he was on KTV and but
I feel like short and sweet is
Yeah.
always best. Yeah. Like I feel like maybe the option to like go further if they
Yeah.
want to, but I feel like 2 minutes is kind of like the length of most
Read
people's
it.
attention span when they're just scrolling.
But if videos already exist, then it
Yeah, right,
can
just-
link to an existing video. It's always great.
And I do think the last thing I'll say on that is that there is this tension between having data on what the city's doing, the city's goals as a municipality, but then, making the case like this is like the collective action challenge of our time. And so we all do play a role. And but that language should leverage values, leverage attitudes, and be empowered.
And I will say blogs will engage, depends on who your content partners are. If we're talking about other community stories and we're talking about reaching out, and having community storytellers, that's a different ballgame as opposed to, again, Overlord, right? So,
Yeah, I don't want to be on any videos. Like, I want people out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's where that can be part of the, people submitting and being a part of the community, so.
It's also a good way to like grow your audience. If you like partner with another organization to do like a blog post and then they share it out with all of their
Yeah.
members.
It's, of course, SEO. So we rank, that website ranks.
No, I mean,
Text is it.
I feel like people love the Instagram videos. Like when Gabe cooked the steak, like I was just at a conference last week and like we showed probably 15 people on the video. And like people just feel so connected to something heartfelt or that was like meaningful in the community, or even just something wacky that was like, I'm collecting buckets of water in the shower, like just stuff like that, and like using it to water my plants. Like there's all these little tidbits about also like community building stuff that feels very Boise.
I was gonna get these guys.
So yeah, back to this group, yeah.
I just wanted to, for me, emphasis of, we wanted this problem statement aspect of, here's, but we really also thought it was important to talk about right up front, kind of in the compelling homepage about actual progress that's already happened. To help people. But now I can do my thing on top of that.
Yeah, the city is historically bad at telling our successes and we need to get better at it. So that's definitely something we need to include. Give me your government No one praises anybody.
Yeah. And hopefully the progress is what things the city's done, but also the communities.
Yes, for sure. Anyone else from this group?
I think a big focus for us was making it like not total doom and gloom. Like, that's why we wanted to present the problem, but also on the same screen, you can see, well, what has been done? And then right below, like, well, what can you do to take action? Okay. Really important, but
Yeah. Sorry for you.
yeah.
I think Jesse basically like tied the bow on it and just, I mean, you guys had phenomenal ideas. I love the concept of like create a checklist for yourself that you can print. So you don't always, like, it's great if people want to come back to the website, but that's not the actual goal. The goal is to do something. So however they want to get it done, there are people who don't like computers. Printable things are wonderful for them. So meeting people where they're at, and I think telling this story, part of what we wanted to do, like, you're great. That's my contribution. We want to reward, I think we should reward people for just clicking on the link, for doing something.
Yeah, that
So
was the you're great part.
Yes, there's this instant hit of like, I feel good. I belong here. This is something I can do instead of the usual climate narrative of like, actually, you're going to die. Yeah. But like showing up, receiving that instant, like, yes, I can. Like, yes, this is a big deal, but we're also doing something already. You're not alone.
Yeah.
And then moving directly from like, welcome, yes, you can. Here's what you can do.
Yeah.
Cool. And organizing items to really meet people where they're at, so that whether your constraints are like time-based or financial or whatever they are, you can find something that works for you. Well, let's be efficient.
Any other thoughts on the website? Did they say how you're gonna get people on the website? I know this group had QR codes.
I think like, yeah, the QR code is great, or stick, you know, whatever, stickers.
There'll be another session.
It's funny how it goes like, I think you are good.
Too.
Yeah.
Like not an app, but like the mobile page has to be like the super zoomed out.
Yes.
Also having like the link in like the mayor's weekly update or whatever,
Yeah.
and just putting it kind of everywhere. If I see a QR code on the green belt, I'm not scanning that QR code. So I don't know, I think we need to be like aware of like other options for people, so.
It's great.
I feel like people are.
Something, there should be fancy free gift cards with a QR code on them. I'm into that idea.
Scan it.
Yeah.
It feels like the city's well equipped for the outreach piece, like it seems like you have enough vehicles.
Yeah.
Mayor's letters, Instagram, physical, like Facebook QR codes, events, like that part, yeah, seriously, that part seems like I think the easiest.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like the initial get people there, we could do that.
Yeah.
People like returning and engaging and then translating into action as the.
But if it's like that, you know, like I said, Rosetta Stone of resources, your life's gonna change. And maybe you have a child or whatever, and you're trying to navigate that, you're like, oh, that one webpage had all these
Having a hub,
things.
a data hub or
Yeah.
a repository is that prevents a lot of like fatigue or feeling like you have to compile things from this side, and then yeah, you have it life change and then suddenly you have to reinvent the wheel. Like, nope, it's all in that hub.
Having more to discover and learn. You know, realizing things up to feedback. Yeah, this is digestible up front, but I can click on this accordion button and keep digging in.
Are we gonna have an app?
Really?
We have explored, it would be, the time constraint to build our own app would be very difficult. We have explored others. Again, I go back to like, there's a lot of constraints in terms of customization. It's basically like, here's what it is, and this is what you get for $50,000. So I think that's why we're trying to keep our options open on what we're able to do and not say, this is exactly what we're doing yet.
AI will build you an app for free.
I think the feedback we heard was like, there's a lot of apps out there. There's an app for everything and it's getting a little bit oversaturated.
In the last 2 months, like I said, I've been doing this research. I've downloaded and deleted so many sustainable action tracking apps. There's so many out there. And they all serve a certain purpose, but they do not really align with like what we're trying to do. It's like, a lot of them are, for people like me, we're like, I'm already doing sustainable actions. I go in, I log what I do, and then I'm never going to go into it again and say like, oh, there's this new action I should be doing. Like, I think a lot of them are a little bit like, pat yourself on the back, you did great. But I think that what we're trying to accomplish here, we have not found in an app that exists.
We're making it.
And we've kind of decided we don't have the internal resources to create an app right now.
Right now.
But an app like website, an app like,
Like a mobile app.
Yeah, cool. Website that is mobile friendly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we can get there.
I agree, yeah, so the apps are getting kind of exhausting and there's always this feeling of like, oh, great, now I have to be walked through these 10 new things that I've never seen before in this new UI interface. And I'm actually with you, I don't know if an app, like it could work. One day, like we need to make it worth your while. Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to say, again, like without saying too much, like the city is working towards a singular system, whatever that might be, just a little bit further down the road, then that lines up with this project. So I think we're trying to be like, what can we do now? Knowing there are future improvements that we would like to loop in some of this, I think, yeah. I feel like that can be connected to the 10 years out, like my climate plan, like there might eventually be a system where you can have a login and track your progress, but not, right? Okay, I want to move on to programs because now we have like 8 minutes left.
Do you guys want to go first? Sure. Okay.
Full disclosure, I seriously wanted to be the sole spokesperson for a group.
Okay.
But they pushed back and said, you can start, but don't screw it up. So just for general comments, and then they're gonna actually pick it up, but we feel that when we're looking at programs, so a variety of entry points and access. Allow for entry access at any time, so you don't come to a party when everybody's drunk. Appeal to generational interest, and then continuity and sustainability over the long haul, not. But these phenomenal table mates have all sorts of great notes.
Your turn.
Oh, boy.
There's a lot.
There's a lot here. But I think ultimately, like, we're really, like, as we think about this programs, like, rooting it in, like, action as a community, like, these, like, we were kind of brainstorming having, like, monthly events that are kind of based on the climate action areas of the roadmap and just saying, like, you know, here's something we do together, or we're gonna all go into the 5 Mile Farm, or like having these pieces that it's not just like, you know, turn off your water, but like, hey, and playing into the website, like, oh, you did this thing, like, here's some other actions, here's community organizations to connect you to, here's other actions that could build on that, but just like really rooting it in like meaningful Boise things and not just like climate action overall, like what means the most to you about Boise. So let's stop there so others can expand.
Yeah. Well, we talked about a bajillion different things. So we talked about what's the brand going to be? What are we calling this? Could we have mascots? Can we have other tangibles that would create engagement in the community? We talked about in scavenger hunt to orange bag neighborhood block parties, to doing it at a kickoff party at the libraries, like whatever the low-hanging fruit is for a one and done kind of kickoff event, and then we build on it from there. We also talked about, what else did we talk about? A lot.
You could do like monthly or quarterly challenges.
Like a composting thing, and then, I mean, that way, picked up by press, and we kind of think about big things.
We talked about the QR codes too, so at different events that would.
Similar to the city's ambassador program, neighborhood ambassadors, creating local events, small scale events. We talked the fact that people enter activities for various reasons. Some is just
they like the people that are associated with it, they don't have a clue what it's all about. But seriously, I mean, that's happened in my life with certain things I didn't know. So just a variety of ways to engage people and bring them in, because everybody comes in at a different, and we talked about also, especially with this topic, the significant need to try and tap into people's emotion and
Get 'em to-
thinking about that, because and we also talked about, it was brought up earlier about how you connect those people that aren't interested, and I don't know if the stats have changed, but you know, several years ago on the stats, 15% of the people will go to their grave denying, and so you bless them and send them on their way. You don't really, you work for the other side of that bell-shaped curve, and people, you know, those on this end are working, you don't need to worry about it. Here's the people that you want to engage.
And definitely the idea, the newsletter, email sign up. So we have a monthly newsletter and you start building community that way as well too, and social media too, for communication.
Like highlighting people on that, kind of like you talked about.
Yeah, all
blog,
the, kind of just bringing it, yeah.
Susie in
Yeah.
this district or like this, whatever, did these things and, you know, whatever, I don't know, just like sharing stories that people can connect to.
And then we also thought, is there an event that's already built that we could be a part of? Where we're not have to build from scratch, or we have brand ambassadors, mascots that go to this event, or we talk about what we're doing, the launch of the website, and get people to try it. So is that Three Fort in the spring? Is that
The Lots Grove.
Shade City.
yeah, Shade City. So there you go.
Yeah, I mean, there's a million things in spring that you could tap into.
So there is sustainable report. Sustainability mode. Yeah. Thank you. Okay, let's go to this group and then we'll kind of open it
Some
up.
of our ideas were in similar vein there, like there's the idea of events and how do you use existing events that the city is putting on or happening in our city. So all of those, the farmers markets, all the 5 jump concerts, like there's a million things that are going on. People at Focus, like anything basically to say, here are resources that are available, and the goal is part to drive traffic to the website, but also it's almost like what Curvit does today. Like, can you piggyback off those and say our table is we have more than just Curvit. Here are things that maybe you hadn't thought of, or you didn't know of, or resources that exist today, and maybe there's swag that's part of it, or it's like the ICCU like money bubble that always, you know, like ways to get different people to come to your table that you wouldn't intercept normally. Because like the idea is like, well, how do you get the younger demographic to like, this is cool, like this little swag. And so, and that's all around. I guess the program is an educational vehicle to help spread awareness about what we're doing. So I think that's one piece of it. There was this idea, which we didn't get a chance to like fully flesh out, this idea about classes and like, are there, you had an interesting idea of like after school programs for kids that want to focus on like a climate angle, or is it adults? And like, yes, you're going to get a certain type of folks there, but it's again like a way of kind of spreading. But this is not a very fully formed thought yet. And then we spent a bunch of time talking about this idea of, which maybe overlaps with like the website. We weren't quite sure where to draw the line of like the actual challenge or the game or the whatever it is. And so because we were envisioning like, here's the site and it has all this great stuff, but then also here's the way you're keeping people engaged ongoing, and that is some kind of like challenge game, etc. And that part I think has the baseline idea, like kind of where are you? I think we liked as well. Like this, it partially what are your demographics, like what can you do or not, but then like the challenges are personalized to you based on where you are in your journey today. And I don't know how much of this is feasible. I think a lot of it is though. Like if you're already doing X, Y, and Z, then let's not give you points for taking out your blue bin. Like that, you know, let's kind of do one step up and have that be, there's educational components built into it, but then there's also kind of points that are assigned or challenges unlocked based on the various climate priorities the city has, like focusing on transportation, on energy, et cetera, but trying to make it somewhat meaningful where they are. There's a lot of details to work out. Like, do you make it quarterly? Do you make it longer than that? Like, you know, depending on when someone joins, like if the challenge ends in a week, then of course they're never going to win. That's not that motivating. maybe it's a rolling basis. But then somehow having like a recognition vehicle for those who do well. I don't know if that's monetary or just citywide, or, you know, you come get your t-shirt badge or, you know, whatever it is. And some aren't gonna care about recognition and some will, and this goes back to demographics, like you want to try and get people engaged at various types of folks. And so maybe I'm stereotyping, the younger generation might be super engaged in a cool mobile, really well enabled mobile interface that is not an app but close, and you know, kind of gets them engaged in these challenges. So it's like personalized actions in the different categories, and there's some kind of like winner recognition. Maybe it's by age, by where you live, by type of engagements you had, et cetera.
And I think incorporate like the in-force portion too, because I think like, yeah, everyone can check a box that they recycle or do whatever. But like having a continuing opportunity where you can, you know, I did X, Y, and Z at home, but then I have to volunteer at least once or table as an ambassador at an event to talk about it. So it kind of continues that. And then hopefully builds a base that people can like lead classes or engage with other people on their own in the future. And then they get that cool badge that it's like proud to be like a master gardener type situation where, you know, it gets to the point you can put it on a resume for a college student. Feel good about it.
Yeah.
So it feels like success is broadening the reach of engagement in some form, of whatever that is. Like, how do you broaden who is engaged, who cares, and then kind of like leveling up their engagement, whatever that level up means to each person. To me, that's, and then like, yes, maybe you can try and measure it later, but the measuring part is hard. Like actually, you can measure engagement of traffic and people doing stuff. Like measuring like carbon footprint change by way of this will be difficult. That's okay. Like I think we're just trying to get just a level up. Yeah.
Okay, we are over time, so I'm gonna stop discussion. If you have any thoughts on what you heard from the program teams, write it on your piece of paper.
Just our ending slide, to what Alex said, leave your notes so we can make sure we take those. Our next committee meeting, September 8th at Bound Crossing. This library is starting construction to undergo some improvements. So that starts, so we will not be at this library at all through the rest of the year at least. So we'll keep giving you updates, et cetera, as we book the rooms. I think we've mentioned this once or twice, but we have a Harvard fellow, Rachel, that starts, I can't remember, first week is next week. It's 2 weeks. So she'll be at all of our committee meetings here on out. She'll be with us for 2 years. And we were selected.
She's taking over
No. She was assigned, or we were selected to have a Harvard fellow, which I think most of us, we had run a couple of years ago, Sam, who was amazing, felt like they're part of the staff and just more capacity. And her focus has been on sustainability and urban planning. Super excited for you all to meet her. She's great. So you might see some communication from her, but we're super excited. And this is the project that she's been assigned to help work on, et cetera. So we got it for 2 years, which is great. There's an opportunity with our arts and history department that I'm going to turn to Alex, and I'll send this in an email as a follow-up too.
Yes, so you've probably seen around downtown, there's these traffic boxes and they always have art on them. Art is rotating. This coming year, it's going to have a climate action focus, which is really exciting. And so they're looking for people to be on the panel, board of panelists. Yeah, what you said?
Review panel.
Review panel, thank you. To grade the artist submissions, basically. And so our arts and history liaison asked me to reach out to you all as climate action experts at this point. If you're interested in another opportunity, there's a stipend. It does take some time. We'll send more details on how you would apply and all that, but another opportunity with the city.
Yep, that's great. Next meeting, a little bit of goals and expectations. We kind of talked about what does success look like. I think we'll take some of this information and hopefully have more of a skeleton based on your guys' feedback and truly like, okay, this is the direction that we're heading. If there's anything else for you guys that you want us to cover, I really heard a lot of conversations about reaching hard to reach demographics, maybe more of what a behavior change campaign could look like. We could dive into that, but curious if any of you have thoughts of what you'd like to kind of go over the next couple of months that we have meetings designated towards. And you can also email that to me too. Yes, Elaine.
What does the timeline look like? I mean,
Sure.
what you're working on is huge. That's expecting something to help. What does the timeline look like and how can we help?
Yeah. Our goal is to be, well, I shouldn't say goal. It will be done by January. Is like ending time. Your guys' duties are kind of relieved December. We would like to have some later conversations as we get towards the end of like, what else would you like the city to do in terms of like, is it city, is it priorities, is it community-led efforts? But I would like to do that kind of more towards as we get towards the end of like, okay, now what, as we're kind of wrapping up this project, so.
I think saying it will be done in January, I think the goal of that is to have like a website and then like maybe a rough plan of what the program looks like into the future, because we're not putting together a program between now and January, right? So,
Yeah.
But the website as like the starting tool, the goal is to have it done in January.
What is it just gonna be, I mean, it's based off of a City of Boise website, but is that under like Squarespace or Wix or where?
We use Umbraco. Of course, we will be updating our, there's federal requirements for government agencies to have their websites updated for accessibility standards. So almost every webpage is getting touched right now. And we'll be updating our entire website in the next couple of years as well. So, okay. Yeah, that's.
Yes. Sorry, I had one last thing.
That's okay.
Not to give you guys more to do, but like these are like a lot. Please consider, like, you can ask me, I'm just gonna volunteer the whole team and say like us. And we'll show up for it. Like, if you need volunteers, if you need help marketing and reaching out to the community, like, I know you'll ask, but like, they'll really ask.
I think we've had the discussion of like, what happens at the end of this committee? Does this committee continue to meet next year? Do we like, gather applicants for a new committee? Like what is y'all's involvement and what's that look like? So we're having those conversations.
And I think we want to hear from you just as we get a little bit further along too. Yeah. Cool. Thanks. Well, we'll send an email out after all the follow-ups. If you need anything, you know how to reach us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Like this.
Yeah,
They're kind of
Bring all my bags, I'm trying to, I know.